So I want to introduce to you first of all, one of the most incredible guys that I've ever had the privilege of working with, talking to. You don't meet too many people that are the real deal. And what I mean by that is they have a passion. They have a passion that's so natural and so real. And sometimes they see their passion as a fault. And, because they love so much what they do and they're just so uncompromising. And this guy, he's such a gift to our Alfay family. And he's such a gift because he has this passion about the mushrooms that existed way before he even knew about Alfay. And it's very clear when you hear him speak, you'll see that Alfay is clearly his destiny, just as it was mine, but for totally different reasons. And every time we have Tom speak, I just get more and more knowledgeable and aware of this precious thing called fungi and medicinal mushrooms and the mycelium network. And there's no one that explains it better than Tom. So we are so honored and privileged to have tonight with us Tom, who's going to focus not only about the big picture of mushrooms and mycelium, but he's going to give us a lot more insight about the Linji spores, which I know a lot of you have made your monthly intake, as I have. So without any further ado, please welcome Tom Gillette. And if you like, you can put your speaker view so you can see Tom, or you can keep it however you want. Sometimes it's better to put it on speaker view over at the upper right so you don't get distracted by everybody else. So I'm going to just put it on speaker view. And Tom, welcome, and it's all yours, my man.
Well, thank you, Anton. And I'm just so grateful to you for your leadership in keeping us all together and keeping us on the same page and moving together with Alfay, because really this is a group effort. This is not something that any one person can do by themselves. And I am just so glad that you're holding the space for this company in America, because I've really come to dearly love Alfay. I've only been with the company for 18 months. I don't really know much about network marketing except what I've learned in the last 18 months. The mushrooms have been a lifetime passion of mine, and I've gone foraging for them. And tonight, I'm going to get kind of geeky with you. The last time I presented, when Anton invited me, it was more about customer acquisition, how to present the products, how to acquire customers. And some of you are new on the call and you didn't see that one. And that one might actually be more useful to you, like how to acquire customers, how to present the products. This is more geeky science behind it that will thrill some of you. And for others of you, you might go, I don't know. Will this information be useful to you? Hold on, let me close the door.
And let me tell everybody that we do have everything recorded, archived, so you can get to Tom's last topic on customer acquisition in our archives, which I will send to everybody after we finish with this one tonight.
Yeah, I what Scott Olgren has said is that getting customers is the way to cut your chops. Like that's how you get going in the business. But ultimately, the way you make money in this business is building a team of distributors, like Anton is proving and showing to us, and Scott and Sam are doing so magnificently well. But customers are an important dimension to this business, absolutely. So can I go to screen share now, Anton?
Yes, you certainly can. Just screen share, and you should be able to do it without me doing much. Yep. We can see the chairman.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know the chairman, he's truly a remarkable man that you might, the more you know him, the more you're going to love him. Not many people can really say you will never regret having me as your friend. I wish I could say that, I wish I could be that kind of a person, that large, That's truly where he lives. He is an extraordinary human being that has really devoted his life to bringing Lingzhi to the world. And so I'm going to do a couple of disclaimers. I'm just a mushroom devotee. I'm not a mycologist, but this is a major nerd alert here tonight. We're going to look at some of the science. Most of the slides that I'm sourcing this from are Alfei sourced. They were at the Minnesota conference back in September when when the Z Cell was launched. And I'm going to do this other disclaimer here that knowledge of the products is essential. Helping people will bring you great joy. Getting many customers is an essential skill. It's how you cut your chops. But you can really get lost in mushroom products, the science behind it, and never build a team of distributors. So I just want to start off by saying, this is great information, but it's not really what's going to build your business ultimately. And this is the way I'm presenting this to you now is not the way to present it to customers. So this is really a for distributor training. It's only designed for your knowledge, your background knowledge, but it's really not the way you present this when you're trying to get customers to try out Z-Cell. So here's our beloved chairman in one of the grow houses up in northern China, and they use the pronunciation Lingzhi. You'll always hear them always pronounce it Lingzhi. So I've been trying to change my pronunciation to be more in alignment with the way the chairman pronounces it. And as you know, it's Lingzhi was the medicine of kings, and it was first identified in the Great Pharmacopoeia of Chinese Medicine, Ban Chao Gang Mu, by Dr. Xin Zhenli of the Ming Dynasty. Now, the Ming Dynasty was this extraordinary event that happened on the planet where the Chinese Empire came together for about 300 years, and it was a period of tremendous peace and productivity, and this was the rise of Lingzhi. So it was given to the emperors and to the monks and to the royalty. It was found only in the wild, and it was said to be the most beneficial of all the possible herbs in nature. And so here are some grow operations. These are not necessarily Alfei. These are ones I just pulled from the web that I thought were pretty cool. I don't know the source of all of these grow operations, but this is what it looks like. Really quality Lingzhi is grown with soil covered over inoculated logs. And there's over 90 different species. This is an operation that's grown on sawdust. And it's, generally speaking, sawdust cultivation is considered to be inferior, produces an inferior quality of Lingzhi. And what you really want is the kind that's grown on Dewan wood, inoculated plum wood, and it takes about 6 to 7 months to reach maximum potency. After that, it starts to lose some of its medicinal value. So it's the grow season is very limited, very tight, and the area that Alfei grows its Lingzhi is in the wintertime, the temperature goes down to 30 below zero. And so that is very helpful because it really freezes the ground hard and kills off all the bugs and any of the critters that might interfere with the grow operation. So around 1970, that was the beginning of massive grow operations of Lingzhi. So before, it was mostly grown in the wild. There was small amounts being cultivated, but it started really around the 1970s to become this huge industry in China. And these are the Ganoderma lucidium fruiting bodies. and they're wrapped in paper, and underneath is plastic, and the plastic is to catch the spores. And so here you can see the paper has been removed, and you can see the outlines of the paper here. And so this powder was discovered to be one of the most powerful natural healing substances on the planet. Alfé had a number of technological breakthroughs. Around the year 2000, you would have to grow 1,000 kilograms of fruiting body, the actual mushroom itself, to produce 2 kilograms of spores. And one dose of Lingzhi was about $100. And then around 2005, they improved the agricultural techniques. They increased some of the spores through strain development, and they got the price down to about $40 per dose. And it's really only been recently, in 2010, that Alfé got the price down to $4.50 per dose by turning on the sporulating mechanism of Ganoderma lucidium to almost 20%. So you have 1,000 kilograms of fruiting body will yield 200 kilograms of spores. And so these numbers all came from the chairman in his speech in Minnesota about some of the technological breakthroughs that Alfé's had. And Alfé grows actually a number of different species of Ganoderma. One of the associated species is this one, Ganoderma ambionense, and it's a very powerful one for the liver. It's stronger than milk thistle, and the active ingredient in milk thistle is silymarin, and this is what Western medicine actually uses to help people with any number of liver diseases, liver problems, hepatitis, any number of situations. And they found that actually Ganoderma is more effective than silymarin, at least for hepatic fibrosis. So in the upper left-hand corner, this is a normal liver, and this is one that's full of fibroids. And the one on the left here is treatment with Ganoderma after 6 months. And the one on the right is treatment with milk thistle. And you can see improvement with the milk thistle, but nothing like the Ganoderma. So as far as healing the liver, Ganoderma is a superior way to do it, especially because there's no side effects. So one of the keys to Ganoderma is high dosages. Small dosages are one of the mistakes many people make. Is like they'll take just 1 or 2 capsules of an Alfé product for a couple of weeks. They'll miss days, and then they'll miss the whole thing entirely. Ganoderma is something that builds up in your body, and the benefits accrue over long-term usage. So I always frame it for everybody that you want to do at least a minimum of 2 months before you come to any kind of judgment or decision. In America, we're so used to instant gratification, and you take a pill and you instantly feel the effects. That's not how this works at all. It's something that is incredibly powerful, but it builds very slowly over your body, and we're going to talk about why that is in a few more slides here. So one of the important dimensions of Ganoderma, and especially the spores are thought to have very, very high concentrations of the triterpenes. And there's also another word, triterpenoids, and they're almost synonymous, and you'll hear them in common parlance almost used equally. And these are precursors to steroids, and there's over 200 different triterpene structures in nature. And these are the adaptogens. They work through our endocrine system by activating our hormone receptors. So the way our body communicates to each other, the way the central nervous system and all of our organs communicate back and forth is through our hormones. And the triterpenes have this remarkable effect of modulating and regulating our endocrine system. And another example of a triterpenoid is cholesterol. So cholesterol is also a triterpenoid. And the triterpenes in Ganoderma are called ganoderic acids. And there's about 30 different ganoderic acids that are thought to be really important for our health. And they're what give it its bitter taste. You'll find the triterpenes are in a number of plants, a number of animals as well. But it's the Ganoderma triterpenes that are particularly useful for our health. So they exhibit antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral bioactivity. They regulate blood pressure and blood lipids. And then there's 3 of them that are considered to be particularly useful for anti-cancer. The lupain and the oleanane and the ursane are particularly been under a lot of study. The ganoderic acids enhance the transmission of the nerve impulses to the cortex, and they modulate all the CNS, the central nervous system functioning, and they enhance the hormonal activity in balancing the body's organs. This is a blank slide, left intentionally blank. Then there's the whole polysaccharides, and this is like another really huge area of research. Alpha leads the world in advanced polysaccharide research. It's a huge class of simple sugars. So you take a monosaccharide and you start building them together, and you get these enormous molecules. And different polysaccharides have very different effects. So, for example, like rice and potatoes, those are polysaccharides, but they're not really medicinally useful. It's the mycopolysaccharides, these enormous mushroom sugars, essentially, that have tremendous effect on our health and well-being in a wide number of ways. One of the beauties that Alpha does is they use many different mycopolysaccharides sourced from many different mushroom species, and the sum total of many of them do work together in a remarkable way. So one of the ways that the polysaccharides work is they increase the macrophages. Now, the macrophages are these huge white blood cells, and they'll come up to cellular debris, microbes, cancer, any foreign bodies that are tagged with a protein receptor, and they'll come up and they'll basically engulf it and eat it and separate it from the body. And you'll find them at wherever you have infection, wherever the body is under attack, the macrophages come in and they come up and swallow the critters that are, or cells that are dividing in an unhealthy diseased pattern. And so this is an Alpha slide, and this is a nuclear magnetic resonance imaging of the Lingxi polysaccharides and how they activate and increase the proliferation of the macrophages. And so these white blood cells that attack disease in our body. The beta-glucans, the 1,3 and the 1,6 beta-glucans are you'll find a lot of discussion around them. They are tremendously important, and one of the mechanisms for removing free radicals in the body, enhancing the immune, activating the macrophages, preventing radiation damage, lowering cholesterol, triglycerides, and reducing the risk of heart disease. The beta-glucans you will find in the mycelium. So some companies, the American companies, grow mycelium-only products. Like if you look at the labels, they'll say they're reishi mycelium, and that is grown 3 days in a vat, and it does have high beta-glucans. But what the mycelium is missing is it's missing the triterpenes. So that's one of the main differences between Alpha and all the American competitors. The American competitors are really not growing the fruiting body, and nobody is doing spores. That's only it's so labor intensive that it can only be done in China. And it's sort of what makes Alpha really stand out and a very exciting company to work for, because we have a unique and premium product that no other company has in America. This amazing power of spore formula. And so the Lingzhi polysaccharides, they decrease inflammation. They're known as for reducing inflammation in the body through the release of cytokines, and for blood sugar regulation. That was the big one for me, was getting my blood sugar. I have a family history of diabetes, and it's just such a superior way of handling the number 3 killer in America, diabetes. And so here's an Alpha slide of, well, there's also the polypeptides and how they're attacking cells and repairing the membrane of cells, and then killing off the bad cells that are dividing, this process called apoptosis. I told you this is a geek show here. Here's the active polypeptides of Lingzhi, how it disrupts the cell-brain membrane structure, and it basically repairs cells. So the way the polysaccharides work is they bind to your protein, the cells of your body, and they provide a shield for your body. Then they help in the healthy replication of your cells, and then they go and they kill off the diseased patterns, any cells that are growing in a disease pattern. And so these are the spores under a microscope. These are about 8 microns big. And as you can see, the structure is it's a double wall. And so if you were just to ingest the spores, they would go through your body completely unheated. So your body cannot break down the spores. So here it is, 1970, the massive cultivation of Ganoderma begins, and the medicinal value of spores was unknown in ancient times. So the fruiting body, the mushroom itself, was highly revered, but the power of the spores was not really recognized until the era of cultivation of the Lingzhi. And then they realized it was like smoke. So the Lingzhi, the Ganoderma lucidium, will start to sporulate, and the sporulating process goes on for anywhere from 8 to 10 days. And it looks like smoke. It's like you're growing all these mushrooms, and then suddenly the whole room is on fire. All this smoke is coming up. And these are the spores. And so for the first 30 years or so, the way they tried to make the spores into a valuable medicine was by boiling them. So they would boil them for about 5 minutes. And the boiling process actually degraded the medicinal value of the spores, but there was still some value and some bioavailability when you do this cooking process for 5 minutes. And then around 1998, they started doing machine grinding of spores. And the machine grinding was better than the boiling, but still you're only getting a crack rate of about 10 to 50% of the spores. And the heat that the machine generates degrades the medicine inside. And so on some of the Oriental competitors who are creating spore products, you'll see that they do low temperature grinding. So they recognize the benefit of lowering the temperature of the machinery when it grinds the spores. But Alpha got to work and put a few $1 million in the best scientists China has, and they came up with this patented technique of lowering the temperature with liquid nitrogen down to near 0 degrees Kelvin and cracking open the spores with ultrasound. So these graphs are what Alpha was using to figure out the exact frequency and the exact amplitude of the ultrasound to crack open the spores. And Alpha gets about a 99% crack rate here with absolutely no loss of triterpenes or any of the value in the spores. And so this is what the finished product looks like, broken wall lyngshi spores. And, you know, if you just look at beta-glucans, which is often the topic, is often the way people talk about these, it's a very incomplete discussion, because what's going on with Lyngsia is there's over 400 different dimensions to this extraordinary medicine. And so if you just talk about beta-glucans, you're really missing the boat, because it's so much more than just beta-glucans. There's these nucleic acids, nucleotides, polysaccharides. Adenosine is a remarkable dimension. We'll talk a little bit more about that. It's got all the essential amino acids. It even activates the liver to help produce any essential acids that are missing. It's full of enzymes, selenium, organic germanium, and a number of other things that are thought to be particularly useful. So anyway, just in the spirit of just moving on, let's move on to cordyceps here. So the Z cell, as you probably know, is made up of 70% of Lyngsia spores. And then the other 30% is cordyceps. And cordyceps is a very interesting fungus. It grows all over the world in a number of different places. The one that's particularly medicinally useful is Cordyceps sinensis and Cordyceps militaris. And this particular cordyceps is grown up at around 16,000 feet above sea level. And it grows on the Tibetan and Nepalese plateau. And it's basically going extinct. About a million Tibetans and Nepalese and Indians go climbing into the mountains, and they're harvesting this to the point of extinction. And it's completely unregulated, and a handful of cordyceps might be a whole year's salary to a Tibetan peasant or farmer. So that's why they'll send the whole family up into the mountains about the time. And so the spore of cordyceps actually has to be ingested by the Thalidides moth, has to go through their digestive tract, and then it kills the host. And so cordyceps in the wild turns out to be pretty much of a gamble right now, because it varies so much in its medicinal value. So if you were just to go and buy it off the street, you probably would be buying something that's completely worthless. It's also the really powerful medicinal cordyceps is one of the most expensive things on the planet, more expensive than platinum. It runs around $3,000 an ounce, the high-grade cordyceps. And to get the highest, most medicinal cordyceps, they have to harvest it before the cordyceps sporulates. And that's the problem, you see. So everyone is ripping the cordyceps up before before the fungus has a chance to reproduce. And so it's starting to go extinct. Now, Alpha has done something really quite beautiful. They have gathered up over 300 different subspecies of Cordyceps sinensis and Cordyceps militaris, and have created a cordyceps archive for future generations. And Alpha no longer sources cordyceps through this method of harvesting it in the wild. They now use a cultured method that involves no bugs. It's a completely vegan process. So, you know, I've been vegan, and I've had some vegan friends argue with this. It's like, well, originally it was sourced from a bug, but a moth, but now it is no longer sourced that way. It is done completely organically through a fermentation process. Cordyceps is truly a remarkable fungus. In 1993, the female Chinese marathoners dominated the world in running. So the whole team would run a marathon one day, they would recover, and they'd run one the next day. They'd run a marathon every single day, and their recovery times were incredibly short. And nobody had ever seen this before or could believe it. And they were doing high amounts of cordyceps. Now, cordyceps is legal in sports. And what it does is it increases the volume of oxygen reaching your muscles. So it turns on your athletic ability. It also allows you to go up into high altitude. So for mountain climbers, for people who are in low oxygen environments, or possibly even people who fly planes, it's of tremendous value. It increases the oxygen getting to your brain, which is thought to help with memory, is thought to help with thinking and increasing your intellect. It also is one of the most heavily studied by the pharmaceutical companies. All of big pharma, derives most of their drugs from either the bacterial kingdom or the fungi kingdom. So, they come out with a drug like, I guess I shouldn't even mention which drugs, but the majority of drugs you'll find that big pharma is selling us for 10 grand a month is sourced from these two kingdoms. And the bacteria and the fungi kingdom actually work in concert together. So the predominant conversation, people say, antibiotics save the world, and they did. The human race was getting killed off. 10, 20, 30% of the human race would get killed off by any number of plagues and diseases and smallpox, and antibiotics have been this tremendous boon to the human race. They basically saved the human race. And, antibiotics come with a cost. As you know, they kill off our good bacteria. And we are essentially superorganisms. We are a collection of hundreds of different bacteria. And there's about 60 major fungi that inhabit our bodies. Some of them are good fungi and some of them are bad fungi. And when you start to take antibiotics, you might also have to take an antifungal, because not only do you kill off your good bacteria, you're also killing off your beneficial fungi that you need to, that they work with the bacteria that your body needs to be healthy. So the discussion is not just, add a probiotic. The discussion now is you have to add profungals. You have to add fungals that support your body's health and well-being. Lingsha and the medicinal mushrooms that Alfei is offering are essentially extraordinary profungals that help reduce they're antifungals for the funguses that are not helpful to our body, and some are tremendously supportive. So the discussion now is getting much bigger than just antibiotics and probiotics. So if you go to the health food store, that's what everybody talks about. Now the new discussion is really about profungals. What can we add to our diet that will help our bacterial microbiome, but also our mycobiome, our fungal world that lives inside and helps regulate our body. So the value of cordyceps is extraordinary. Enhancing our immunity, helping us fight off diseases, supporting our cardiovascular, basically by increasing the oxygen in our body and our respiratory system, and anti-aging, anti-tumor properties, has a huge hepatoprotective, and also for kidneys. So most of us have very stressful lives, and the kidneys and the adrenals are overworked in our in our absurdly busy lives. And when the kidneys and the adrenals get run down, and those of you who are into 5-element medicine know more about this than I do. They need to be built up, and cordyceps is one of the big herbs. And in China, they use all the mushrooms. They call them herbs. Cordyceps is truly one of the big herbs for rebuilding up the kidney, the power of the kidney. And the kidneys are thought to contain, the essence of your life force. So cordyceps is becoming very rare. It's almost disappearing in the wild. It does grow down in the Amazon, and it grows in a number of different places, but those are very different species. And every different insect actually has a different species of cordyceps that attacks it and takes over its nervous system. One of the really interesting things about some of these strains of cordyceps is that it will infect the host, and then it will tell the host, like an ant or a grasshopper, to climb up a tree and then die. And nobody could ever figure out, like, what is going on there. And, well, it actually is intelligence. Mycelium is the source of how intelligence and consciousness comes into the universe. And so it instructs the insect to go up to the top of the tree and die there, and then broadcast the spores over a much wider area than if the insect were on the ground. So it's a very interesting dimension to cordyceps going on there. So right now, Alfé is doing this remarkable thing by archiving and saving all the cordyceps before it's gone from the wild. And there's a huge database for it, and also doing a lot of advanced research on cordyceps. So there's hundreds of strains of Cordyceps sinensis, Cordyceps militaris, and each one of them is very different from the other. So they have huge variance in their medicinal properties. And so Alfé does a species identification report, and over in the lower right-hand side is how Alfé uses this organic fermentation process to multiply a species that it finds to be particularly medicinally useful. And so Alfé has studied the genome, the DNA sequencing of cordyceps, and tried to isolate exactly which parts are beneficial and which parts are useful. And here's a number of strains, and out of the 300 different strains that Alfé has cataloged, they use only 2 of them, as far as I understand, from the chief science officer who presented in Minnesota. They just used 2 of them because they found them to be the most useful. And so Alfé has really done their homework, Then it turns out that when they culture the cordyceps, there's 7 different dimensions that they're looking at. There's 7 different components that are thought to be particularly useful and efficacious in health situations. And then Alfé has also tested the safety of it. And you'll notice that it's really always high concentrations of Ganoderma and cordyceps that produces remarkable results. Low amounts, just don't cut it. So if you've been taking the products for a little while and you're wondering about it, I'd always say just up your dosage. It's safe. It's been tested on millions of Chinese for decades. There's no deleterious side effects. So just increase your dosages. Then once you sort of get it going, so I'm about on month 18, and I have found that all of the Alfé formulas, not just the Z-cell, but all of the Alfé formulas work together brilliantly, and they continue to reap a number of benefits in my body. This sense of clarity, this sense of focus, And so I just threw up on all of you here. And whatever I just said to you, don't repeat this to customers because it's not going to work. You really want to look at the thing I did 2 weeks ago, because that was how to present these products. But you really don't want to repeat all of this. This is more for your background information. So the big mistake I made for a really long time, for about the first 6 months, is I used to throw up on everybody and tell them everything I knew, or half of it or whatever. And that doesn't really work. It doesn't really work on so many levels. And let me tell you why. So first of all, you may not even get the customer, but then you scare everyone away from the business. They say, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. I have to go to mycology school for 6 years before. And that's not the truth of the situation. So, I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you had a good time with it. And thank you, Anton, for letting me share a couple of ideas with you all.
Tom, this has been incredible. I know everybody is so blown away right now, and I'm sure we have some questions. Are you okay with answering some questions?
If I can, I'll be happy to answer whatever I can, and if I don't know, I'll try to tell you.
I'd like to start off with two main questions. One is, you said that right now Alpha is the only company in the world producing spores. Is that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Only company in America selling spore product.
Oh, the only American company. Gotcha.
Yeah. No, you can get it online from a number of Chinese and Japanese companies, but there is no American company selling spore product. It's
gotcha. And is it my understanding? And is it my understanding that the ultrasound technique that Alpha has patented is strictly used by Alpha, and it keeps the viability of the spores more alive than any other technique known right now in technology. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And Alpha has got 6 international patents and 31 Chinese patents.
Wow.
In all. I'm not sure how many of them have to do with the cryogenic spore cracking technology, but it is the only one that is using this technique, as the chief science officer indicated to us.
Got you. And one last question, and I know I'm hogging up a little bit, but we're going to have everybody have an opportunity. The spores themselves, I'm assuming, are like the seeds or the eggs that go into the environment to grow new mushrooms, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh-huh.
So in a way, they're like what caviar is to fish, and what seeds are to what sprouts are to seeds. That's kind of what the spores are to mushrooms. They're their most generative state.
It's true. Now here's a little piece of nerdiness. Is it actually takes 2 spores. So you have a spore that lands in a fertile environment and it sends out hypha, but it needs another spore that has also sent out hypha, and the 2 spores actually have to connect in order for a colony to grow.
Wow.
So it's an asexual method of reproduction, but it does require 2 spores.
Wow. And am I to understand that logic, that the reason why the spores are powerful are kind of the same reason that sprouts in vegetation are powerful, or even eggs, that they contain a more concentrated form, or they're at the generative state of that plant where kind of everything is at its most potent. Is that a good way to look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. It carries the essence of the Ganoderma. The vital life force of Ganoderma is right in the spores itself, and I think that's a great analogy, to sprouts. Sprouts are so powerful. These are the equivalent to sprouts.
That's great. Thank you, Tom. Any other, please, questions that you might have? Please take yourself off mute, and we don't have many opportunities to have Tom here. Yes.
Tom? This is Pam in Missouri again, and I'd like to ask what you remember in Minnesota about using the Z cell and viruses.
Well, Ganoderma does have antiviral dimensions to it. You know, one way it was expressed to us was that the Z cell is like an ambulance driver. So if you have an emergency, if you have a critical health issue going on, you know, work with it, see if it helps. You can do it on a daily basis, you know, if you have sufficient funds. But you know, I find that there's really no substitute for the formulas either. I mean, the formulas are just so magnificent, and I love all the different personalities and how each formula has like a different function and a different effect on the body. The Z cell is sort of the premium, you know, extraordinary thing that no other American company has. Certainly, as far as all the Oriental companies, like when you go online and you buy Spore oil, you know, it's you know, I'm not sure what kind of quality you're getting there. You know, with all these mushroom products, it comes down to quality, quality, and quality, and where are you sourcing them from? And you know, with Alpha, I feel very comfortable that they are always doing the right choice. They're always doing the right thing, and you know, always source it from the highest possible environmental source that is available. Did that answer your question, Pam?
I think so. I mean, I remember
Ambulance driver.
incredible research that they've done there. Kathy Jo would like to know too about the anti-parasitic effectiveness.
Yeah, well, you know, why does the fungi kingdom have all these amazing antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral effects? And that's because the fungi kingdom has been around for billions of years, fighting off other bacteria, fighting off other molds and fungi, fighting off other viruses, fighting off foreign invaders. So it's just evolved a wide variety of defense systems against attackers. As far as anti-parasitic, there's definitely evidence for that. You know, some of our parasites actually seem to be beneficial to our body. You know, so we've eradicated some parasites, and then a number of autoimmune diseases have come up. You know, I posted this book, An Epidemic of Absence. This is a great book. I haven't finished it yet, but it's basically describing what sort of happened now that we have left the farm. Like 100 years ago, all of us were living on a farm. We lived outside. We lived in the dirt. We were surrounded by this world of bacteria. And now we live indoors, basically in a tropical environment, and we scrub ourselves with antibacterials all the time. So our body, our immune system is no longer being used to fight off the external environment. So what does it do? It now attacks us. So here we now have the rise of all these autoimmune diseases. And the author of this particular book actually suggested that there's a few parasites you might even introduce into your body purposely to help your body develop defenses against this and all the autoimmune diseases. So we are now a culture that is plagued with immune systems that are attacking ourselves. You know, I had all kinds of unregulated inflammation going on in my body, could never figure it out. And, you know, it wasn't, and I tried all the mushroom products of of the American competitors, and I wasn't really getting much result. It was only when I came to the Alpha products that this low level inflammation really subsided inside my body. So my recommendation, try reading this, and some parasites may actually be very helpful to our body.
Great, Tom. Great question. Other questions for Tom?
Hey, Tom.
Yes, David.
Great job. It's incredible how many millions and millions of years they've been around. And just really recently, we're really understanding the life-healing properties, and I love the whole, understanding the way they make it whole, make it live, and not using the heat. It's quite extraordinary. So is this the only company and source where we get Spores? Is that what you're saying? And nowhere else do they would really understand what Spores are?
No. There's Oriental competitors who create Spore products, Spore oils.
All right.
But for me, I'm just going to trust the Alpha line, because they have always produced the highest quality. One of the phrases that the chairman said is that we will pay any price to have the highest quality products. I don't know if you've had a chance to read his book, The 5 Elements of Success.
Yes, amazing.
But that's all he thinks about, is how do I set the bar higher than everybody else so that we are the standard by which everything is measured.
I love it. You know what? In terms of taking it, it does say take it with warm water.
Yes.
What about just mixed in with room temperature water, with other, let's say, superfoods, or just have it alone and warm, or with others and room temperature? Would that be okay too?
Yeah, I think the Chinese medicine always prefers things a little bit on the warm side. They never like cold water or ice water. That's
no, room temperature.
Yeah, room temperature. That might be okay.
Okay.
Being on an empty stomach, that's probably very important.
Yes,
So
I would
if you eat it with food, it really loses its efficacy.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Jenny.
Yeah, Tom, can you tell us what you take, what your protocol is?
Yeah. Well, when I first started, I went through the formulas one at a time to learn their personality, to learn what each one did. I did a lot of muscle testing to figure out which ones, were most appealing to my body. And then I muscle tested them again and again and again, and I found that it actually changed. So I actually had opinions when I first started them. And then after I kind of marched through all the products, now, at month 18, I do more of a intuitive approach. I really like to have balance in the morning. And when I do about 6 to 9 capsules a day. And now there's some days that I don't do them. And, but it doesn't have much effect now when I miss a day, just because I've done so much of them for so long.
What about tea and coffee? Do you take the beverages?
I do. I really like the coffee.
Everybody loves it. Everybody.
I have 2 in the morning.
Me too.
I do have the tea. I'll sometimes have another coffee in the afternoon. But the protocol I usually do is 2 balance in the morning. And I really love the heart medicine. The heart medicine feels like a yoga class to me.
Wow.
I fall in love with the world, and I feel
wow.
I feel so connected with everybody and everything and everyone. It's just it's amazing formula. I'm really into liver formula. I think liver formula is one of Alpha's remarkable formulas. If I do liver and calm together, I like to pair them in the afternoon or evening, because I sleep really well. So when somebody comes and they say, I'm having sleep issues, I send them towards calm and liver at night. Boom. It's a beautiful
awesome.
combination.
I want to ask one more question. What about weight loss? Have you had many people that you know lose weight with the mushrooms?
Well, I think that's a really tricky subject. I think I do actually lose some weight, but there's other things that I do that put the weight back on. So I think it has to be comprehensive. It just can't be pills alone. And you want to pair that with the gut formula.
Yes.
So the gut formula, as you notice, is in all the different longevity packs, or most of them. It's just thought to be this very important substrate in the whole protocol that you get your good flora going, and eliminate your bad flora, and that you get your good fungi going, and eliminate the fungi that are not so helpful for your body. But weight loss, there's dimensions to weight loss that are psychological, that are spiritual, that it's for somebody to go through a radical amount of weight loss. They almost need like a spiritual transformation, really, like a real change in their thinking and their personality. And it's not just calories or intake. It's a deep problem, deep question in my mind.
Okay, thanks.
Great question, Jenny. Thank you. Any final questions for Tom? Wow. Tom, I think I speak for everyone when I tell you that we are all totally blown away. Blown away. We may not understand a lot of what you're saying, but what we do understand is that Alpha is just such a sophisticated company, and the amount of science that's behind it. We never really get that in the promotional materials or even in the products that we get a very simplified way of presenting it to people. But it's so great to know that behind that, and not that we ever have to put it in front of people, because I agree with you. It's something that not only can overwhelm potential customers, but can actually turn off, potential people that want to market these products. But I can tell you, knowing this information gives me just so much more grounding and confidence to know that what I'm delivering to people is just, triple A, and that's a great feeling. And that's what this talk has done for me. It's given me that feeling of absolute confidence that we are giving people the absolute best that we can offer. So really, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so much welcome. That's a beautiful way of saying it. It's like you should have I have 1,000% confidence in the products, in the company, in the way the company makes decisions. That part I feel very secure in. My own abilities, well, I don't know. I'm good at getting customers, but we'll see how the rest of it comes along in the next year or so.
Hey, Tom, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Not cut in or anything, but
Sure, Brian.
hey, I was curious regarding these sales. Can you give just a rough overview on how it relates to cancer? Because I heard that it was called No Cancer Tina. Can you kind of relate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I actually meant to put in some slides around that. In China, cancer, no. And it's, it has tremendous anti-cancer possibilities. I have two friends who've had complete remissions of early stage cancer, and they both were taking Spore formula. So I have two anecdotal evidence of very close friends, customers, who were doing Spore formula. And, if a person is even choosing to go the chemotherapy route out of fear, the Z-cell is still helpful. It can actually complement. If you start to Google it and you start to research, you'll find that actually the Z-cell works in combination with chemotherapy to reduce the negative side effects of chemotherapy, the hair loss and the fatigue and the wasting and any number of problems that come with oncology. So yeah, it's a big part of it. Absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Okay, guys, I'm going to kind of cut it short. We've gone 15 minutes over. Tom, again, thank you so much for your passion, for your knowledge, for your brilliance. I know I'm speaking for everybody how grateful we are. This will be recorded. We will be posting it on the Alpha newsletter, if not tonight, by tomorrow, so that you'll be able to have this recording available. When we do the recordings, you'll be able to go to the archive, so that in addition to Tom's talk tonight, you'll see all the archives that we have done thus far, including Tom's talk that he did 2 weeks ago on customer acquisition. So all of that is there. Take advantage of it, guys. We have this every Sunday night and Wednesday night. I'll be soon announcing the topic for Wednesday night and have that posted. And without any further ado, guys, have a beautiful evening. And thank you once again, Tom Gillette.
Thank you, Anton. And you're all welcome to ask questions too on my website, Hope for the Future. And if you get a question, next week, feel free to ask it anytime.
Beautiful.
Service.
Thank you so much, man. You're the man. Have a beautiful evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Good night. Beautiful.